I know we've been doing a lot of videos about cartoons and whatnot, but I thought it would be nice to switch gears for a second and look at some video games because I swear we're a gaming channel. But anyway, lately I've been hooked on Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and for that reason, I knew that I had to talk about this game. If you saw the title, you know what I'm talking about already. But a while ago, there was a Legend of Korra game made by Platinum that had a 3DS port. You'd think that it would be an action game, seeing as that's the Platinum staple, and there are plenty of DS and 3DS action games that are extremely fun, but no, this is very different. They decided to make it a Fire Emblem game, but a lot worse. Interestingly enough, this game was developed by Webfoot Technologies, who had a good track record with the really good GBA DBZ games, well, not including Legacy of Goku 1. And that just makes me wonder why the Korra game didn't go for that style, seeing that they perfected the gameplay in Boost Fury in my opinion. As for why the port went the Fire Emblem strategy route, well, I can guess. It's definitely way easier to make than an action game, and I'm sure they didn't have as long as the development time as the console version did. And that's about all the reasoning I can think of, so let's just kind of jump into it. First of all, this is a port of the Platinum version, so the general story beats are the same. It starts with Korra getting all of her bending powers taken away by some old guy who was actually an ancient evil being that escaped the spirit war when Korra opened the spirit portal at the end of season 2. Throughout the game, Korra has to deal with chi blockers, other benders, and mechs trying to capture her as she slowly gains her bending back with the power of being the Avatar. Of course, there are some key differences between the two versions, the biggest one being the need to add more characters due to the genre shift. Playing only one character in a strategy RPG will obviously get overwhelming very quickly, or the maps wouldn't be any fun after a certain amount of time. That or there would need to be a lot of balance and design changes that would have to be implemented, but that's too much work. What ended up happening was that the characters we know and love got slapped into the story, and honestly the not Korra characters don't talk too much after they're introduced, so it's whatever. Especially Mako and Bolin, who kind of just hang around after they first appear as a static ping that don't react to anything with any meaningful thoughts. On second thought, everyone is more or less assigned a couple of pictures that they cycled through, and it's pretty bad. I know, I just came off of 3 Houses and that game has some great animations, but objectively speaking, even relative to the 3DS games coming out at the time, the animations were absolutely dog dookie. I wouldn't even hazard to say that Boost Fury had animations on par with this. There's one particularly bad section from a cutscene that sticks out to me where Ugai and Tenzin swoop in to save the gang. It just barely qualifies as an animation, clocking in with an impressive 1 image total where it just moves across the screen. It's unbelievable to look at and it's just so awful. But the animations are on full display in battle. As this is a Fire Emblem type game, there are animations when you attack. I feel like what happened is that the animation department was given a move name and had to do the best with as little effort as possible. Bolin and Kaya in particular got the crap end of the stick. I mean, look at these, they barely do what the move name says and low frame rate doesn't help at all. Why does he do a backflip? I have no idea. There are even some moves where I continue to think that I dodged them because the animations make me think I parried it. And as for Korra, she gets stuck with the spinning kick thing for a while as her only move. The move has her go into a pose and she kind of rotates around. This would be fine, well, passable, if it wasn't for the frame rate. It makes it take a lot longer than needed and highlights how bad the animation is. I used to play in the band in high school and one thing I was taught was that when you play fast, you can make mistakes, but slow it down and everything gets exposed, and that couldn't be any more true here. At the very least, for whatever reason, the rage attacks are usually decent, although they are still slow, which really is a big problem in this game in general. This game is a drag. As far as I can tell, there isn't any real way to speed things up. At the very least, you can skip the battle animations or turn them off completely, so there's that. But that doesn't matter as much when the characters still move so slow. You can't skip enemy turns, which just leaves to sitting and waiting for them to decide if they want to move this turn or not, because if you aren't close enough, they just won't move. And to make it all the worse, the game passed the runtime by making you have to grind in the sparring section because the main missions don't provide enough XP to comfortably go through the game. If you decided to forego the sparring because who has time for that? You will effectively be beating your head against the wall. I grinded a little and still had trouble because I was getting outscaled, which is only compounded by some of the game's mechanics, which is actually a good segue into talking about the game's actual gameplay. To start it off, we have HP, EP, and Shield. HP should be obvious, you reach 0 and you're kaput. There's also no permadeath, so no need to worry about that. EP is basically your mana in this game. As you level up, you get more moves that start to cost EP, nothing special. Then we have shields. Shields suck and are very integral to your strategizing. Shields are basically free protection against damage. When you take damage, you remove a shield and take 0 damage. Sometimes a crit could take 2 shields, but most of the time you only lose a shield. The only time this is not true is when you expose an elemental weakness. In those cases, the damage goes through and pierces the shield. You don't really have to remember any weaknesses though, you can just hover over any enemy and it'll tell you. This is to incentivize exposing matchups, but since you're usually outnumbered, it's easy to get brute forced. You don't naturally replenish shields, so you either rely on consumables, wait until the next level, or use some skills. And yeah, you can buy consumables from the shop, but that's about all you can buy from the shop. I hate it. Shields are also how you counter, and let me just say now, I really don't like the counter system. First of all, it takes a while to actually use it because of how it works. So in order to counter, you have to have a move with EP set, enough EP to use the move, and at least 1 shield up. This is a problem because people like Mako only get 1 shield, so if they get hit at all, you can just forget about countering. Because as it turns out, if you lose all of your shields in the middle of combat, you won't even get to counter. I guess it was a way to balance counters, but I can't see a reason why counters were a bad thing in the first place. That's not even mentioning that it burns your EP to use it, which is why I would get free counters ASAP. What I mean is that at certain levels you get to choose between 2 options. You can see all of this in the menu so you can plan ahead, but there's never a right answer, so just kind of pick whatever you want. Except the free counter, just get it. Moving on, the level design is just so-so. The levels are kind of bland with not much going on. The worst offenders of this are the Spirit World levels when you get your bending back. Those are glorified puzzles, but it falls flat because it's extremely boring. The best one was the market level, mostly because it was interesting to look at, kept you on your toes by splitting you up, and had different ways for you to go, but still, it was eh. Oh, and I almost forgot. The last thing I should mention about the gameplay is sparring. You just do some battles that let you grind so you can keep up with the story. It's very mindless, but there's no real way to level up past that. As a positive, the music is surprisingly pretty good. The battle music is legitimately great. It's very interesting and has some dynamic passages in it. I'm not sure where to find it, but if you can, I would check it out. Also, this game doesn't have the Naga running section, which made me want to pull out my hair trying to do it on hard mode. Probably one of the worst experiences I've had in a video game. But that's about it. And also, that's about it for the video. Overall, this game isn't the best or even close to the upper echelon of 3DS games, or even the middle echelon for that matter. There are so many other better games like this you could play on your 3DS. You got the Fire Emblem series, that Ghost Recon game, Devil Survivor, Stella Glow, Project X Zone, and way more if you expand the DS. Anyhow, what do you think of this video? Let us know in the comments, and maybe there's some other games we should check out. I have a list, but I've been pretty slow with actually playing them. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe because it does mean a lot. But before you go sucking the bending out of some girl, have a good day.